Have you ever felt that a simple request like, "do the dishes," sounds like a declaration of war in your head? You were standing by the sink ready to start, but the moment someone told you to do it, your motivation died. Suddenly, you would rather do anything else than touch that plate because doing it now feels like a surrender. This isn't laziness or a bad mood, it's a complex psychological glitch in our firmware known as reactance. Meet Viktor, a man for whom autonomy isn't just a preference, but the very oxygen his soul needs to breathe. In Viktor's world, every direct command is perceived not as helpful guidance, but as a direct threat to his freedom. The second someone tries to assert authority over his time, a heavy iron curtain slams down deep inside his chest. Unfortunately for people like Viktor, the fight for freedom often turns into a subtle and painful form of self-sabotage. The truth is that Viktor will often skip things that benefit him just to prove that the final choice was his. His mind is a fortress where every "you must" is treated like an enemy ram battering against the gates of his identity. We often mistake obedience for weakness, but for Viktor, resistance has become the only way he feels truly alive. The root of this rebellion often lies in a childhood where attention or control from adults felt suffocating and constant. Viktor learned to be the captain of his own ship, in a sea where everyone else was trying to steer for him. But there is another side to this. Viktor doesn't hate rules on principle. He hates rules that lack a logical core. If you tell him to jump, he won't ask, "How high?" He will ask, "What is the data-driven purpose of this jump?" To a traditional system, Viktor looks difficult, but inside, he is a logic seeker who despises blind, mindless obedience. For him, hierarchy is just a social construct that can never replace the fundamental need for competence and shared meaning. Sometimes, this resistance goes even deeper, turning into a crushing paralysis before any demand, even his own personal goals. This is pathological demand avoidance, where even a fun task becomes a threat the moment it feels like an obligation. Viktor might stare at a screen for hours, unable to answer an email not because he is lazy, but because the pressure is too much. Every expectation from society feels like an Everest he physically cannot climb because of a rising wall of internal anxiety. There are also those whose independence is actually a thick scar from a past where trusting others was simply too dangerous. When you give someone like Viktor an instruction, he doesn't hear a tip. He hears the condescension of, "I don't trust you." His "I'll do it myself" isn't a boast. It's a protective moat around his heart that he refuses to let anyone cross. It is fascinating how much of our identity is wrapped up in who we choose to let influence our daily choices. For some, following orders is a relief, a way to avoid choosing, but for Viktor, it is a constant battle for his soul. Let's look closer at the freedom fighter within him, the part that sees a wet paint sign as a personal challenge. To this part of the brain, a "do not touch" sign isn't a warning, it is an immediate reduction of the available world. By touching the paint, Viktor isn't being immature, he is performing a primal ritual to reclaim his lost territory. It is a biological reflex to restore a sense of agency when the environment feels like it is closing in on him. Then there is the logic seeker, the part of Viktor that views "because I said so" as a personal insult to his intellect. He isn't trying to slow down the process, he is trying to ensure the action is actually worth the energy spent. To a micromanager, he looks like a rebel, but to himself, he is just an architect refusing to build on a shaky foundation. Blind obedience feels like a form of mental death to him, a betrayal of the very reason that makes him human. He needs the why before he can commit to the how, and without it, his brain simply refuses to engage. Deepest of all is the demand avoider, where the nervous system mistakes an expectation for a physical predator. Imagine your own to-do list becoming a pack of wolves, chasing you into a corner of frozen, helpless inaction. For Viktor, even the things he loves, painting, reading, or creating, become demands once they are scheduled or expected. The physiological response is a spike of adrenaline that leaves him exhausted before the work has even begun. He has to trick his own mind, pretending the task is a choice just to bypass the alarm bells of his own brain. Finally, the counter-dependent side of Viktor remembers a time when relying on someone else led to profound disappointment. Independence became his armor, a way to ensure that no one could ever hold power over his emotions or his fate again. When you offer help, he interprets it as interference, a crack in the glass of the fortress he built to stay safe. He protects his agency fiercely because, in his mind, it is the only thing keeping him from being hurt once more. But the cost of this total independence is a quiet, isolated life where no one is allowed to get close enough to help. Viktor must learn that setting a boundary is different from burning every bridge that leads back to human connection. Healing begins with the realization that your resistance is a survival tool from a past that you no longer live in. You are allowed to take the advice of an expert without losing your status as the captain of your own soul. It takes more strength to choose to listen than it does to reflexively shout no at every suggestion that comes your way. Viktor can practice strategic surrender, choosing to do the task because it serves his goals, regardless of who asked. If washing the dishes makes his kitchen clean, then the roommate's request is irrelevant to his internal decision. He can learn to see requests as data points rather than orders, stripping away the perceived power of the other person. This shifts the power back to Viktor, turning a moment of submission into a moment of conscious, deliberate choice. Every time he chooses an action based on his own values, the iron curtain in his chest loses a bit of its weight. He discovers that he can be both independent and cooperative, finding a middle ground where his freedom remains intact. You are the author of your life, but a great author knows when to let a secondary character speak a useful truth. Your resistance shouldn't be a prison that keeps you from the very things you need to grow and thrive. Take a deep breath, look at the task ahead, and ask yourself, who am I doing this for, them or me? When you answer for me, the command loses its teeth, and the rebel finally finds the peace he has been searching for. I'm Leo, and I hope this note reminds you that you are always in control of your own story. Goodbye for now.